live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Nwawodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Nigeria zooms to final, beats South Africa 4-2 on penalty in the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations taking place in Côte d'Ivoire. Nigeria books AFCON final ticket. Senate puts aside its interaction with service chiefs following the absence of National Security Advisor. Defense, Finance and Interior Ministers reschedules briefing to February the 13th. Security briefing has now been rescheduled. And House of Representatives set to harmonize general elections to prevent staggered elections bandwagon. Bill scales second reading, same day as election quest.
And on business news tonight, Central Bank of Nigeria sells record 1 trillion naira in Wednesday's Treasury bill auction as a 364-day table stop rate spikes to 19% per annum.
On sports news tonight, it's jubilation galore for Nigerians across the world as Super Eagles knocks out the Bafana of South Africa in a historic encounter to reach the finals of the Cup of Nations.
And from Abuja, Federal High Court orders federal government to fix prices of food and petroleum products within 7 days. This follows order granted by Justice Ambrose Lewis Alagua in a case brought by senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana.
And in international news from London, there have been 2 fatal bomb blasts in Pakistan, causing chaos on the eve of the country's general election.
Well, it was a hard-end fight, but it was a well-deserved victory as the Super Eagles of Nigeria cruised into the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations following a 4-2 defeat. Bafana of South Africa on penalties. William Troost Ekong has given Nigeria the lead from the penalty spot in the 67th minute, and that's after coach Joseph Peseiro made double substitution with Al-Hassan Yusuf coming in for Alex Iwobi, while Moses Simon was taking out for Samuel Chukwueze. In the 85th minute, Osimhen made it 2-0, but the VAR overturned that goal and gave a penalty to South Africa, which Teboho Mokoena converted to level the score at 1-1. At the end of extra time, the game went into penalties with Kelechi Iheanacho scoring the winner. And the Super Eagles began that campaign in the tournament with a 1-1 draw against Equatorial Guinea, where the second group match with the host nation, Côte d'Ivoire, ended in favor of the Eagles, with William Troost Ekong converting from the penalty spot for the win. Nigeria's last group game against Guinea-Bissau also ended 1-0, and of course Nigeria progressed to the last 16, finishing second on the group with 7 points. They went on to face lifetime champions Cameroon for a place in the quarterfinal, beating the Elephants 2-0, with Ademola Lookman scoring both goals. And today, Nigeria met South Africa in Bouaké, Côte d'Ivoire, to qualify for the finals, a game that ended 4-2 on penalties. Away from AFCON, the Senate has postponed its scheduled interaction with service chiefs owing to the absence of the National Security Advisor and the Chief of Defense Staff. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, stated this during a plenary today, and that's after receiving other security chiefs, including the Chief of Army, Naval, and Staff. The upper chamber also resolved to expand the list of expectations to include ministers of defense, police affairs, interior, and finance, among others. A National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports.
Anticipation mounts as the Senate resumes plenary on the second legislative day of the week, with the expected arrival of service chiefs to the upper chamber. The worsening state of insecurity in the country has been a major subject of debate among the lawmakers. For this reason, the service chiefs have been summoned for a second time under the 10th Assembly to give explanations. The Senate suspends its rules to admit the service chiefs. The absence of the National Security Advisor and Chief of Defense Staff instantly stalls proceedings.
The security chiefs to have interaction with us to brief us on the efforts being made to curb this resurgence, and at the same time give us the opportunity to also make our suggestions for the betterment of the country. So please, whilst we welcome you, we want you to know that it is not because of the fact that we are not passing the buck. We are not blaming any of you for anything. We believe you are doing your best. We want to hear from you and also make contributions on how we can improve the situation. So we welcome you, but we are not complete. We would like to have also with you in attendance the Chief of Defense Staff. Is it the view of the Senate? We would like also to have the National Security Advisor in attendance. Is that the view of the Senate? So the clerk of the Senate has directed accordingly that you further invite the National Security Advisor, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of State Defense, the Minister of Police Affairs, the Minister of State Police Affairs, Minister of Interior, Minister of Finance, and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, in addition to the service chiefs who have honored the invitation of the Senate.
The motion to adjourn the security briefing is then moved by the Leader of the Senate, Senator Wema Bank.
Is it the view of the Senate that this be moved to Tuesday, the 13th day of February 2023? Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The protracted spate of abductions, banditry, armed robbery across the country has in the last few weeks seen an uptick, and the Senate agrees that the FCT is under threat. The lawmakers expect that the postponed interface will yield the desired results to advance development in the country. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Senate has been giving reasons why the postponement of the security briefing became expedient. In an interview with our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezuke, the Senate spokesman, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, explains that Nigerians would not take the Senate serious if it took on the matter in segments.
Going back and forth anymore, because it has reached that tempo whereby we have to get to where we are going in Nigeria. And it is very pertinent to ensure that we don't just see a sect now, 2 days after we now call another sect. Nigerians will not even take us very serious. So definitely it is not a matter of saying that we invite the head, then the sub will just come, and then we just take them, and then we'll be waiting for another day. Definitely, the National Security Advisor, who's advising the President about the issue of security, who collects every security report and sends such to the President for action, then must be on seat. And not only that, the Chief of the Defense Staff, who's in charge of either the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force must be there. And definitely, we must bring in the economic team. We must bring in the security team. Then all of us must now sit down together. If it is for us to make laws to ensure that things are done properly and we get results, then we do that. If it is for us to impress it on the executive to make sure that what they are supposed to do, they do it, then we have to get that one. If to tell us that maybe the appropriation that we have been making, maybe we have been wrong on it, then they have to tell us. So what we are going to do, we will not even think of any reprimand unless they are there and we ask questions from them directly. And then after maybe a few days or weeks, and we cannot get the result, then we know what advice to give to the executive about the issues that are going on pertaining to security in Nigeria.
A bill for the amendment of the Electoral Act has sailed second reading in the House of Representatives. The bill, which is sponsored by Honorable Francis Waive, proposes, among other things, that the general elections be conducted on the same day to save money and time for the country, as well as prevent the bandwagon effect. The amendment also seeks to make electronic transmission of results compulsory. Meanwhile, due to the rise in cases of kidnapping in the FCT, the House of Representatives has passed a resolution to invite the FCT minister and heads of security agencies for a security briefing. Our correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
Wednesday's plenary in the House of Representatives begins with a motion of urgent national importance on security in the Federal Capital Territory. Lawmakers are worried about the increased spate of kidnappings in the nation's capital.
They thought that since the compulsory registration and linking of national identification numbers new by the federal government, there has never been a time it was deployed to tackle or address the pressing and scary state of insecurity in the Federal Capital Territory or the nation at large. Further worried that since criminal elements in and around the Federal Capital Territory are speedily evolving from the norm to advanced techniques of criminality, the security agencies of government ought to urgently move to digitalize their operations to return the Federal Capital Territory to its safest haven.
Next, the House considers a bill to amend the Electoral Act. Sponsor of the bill, Honorable Francis Waive, believes that certain concerns observed from the 2023 general elections must be quickly addressed.
I crave your indulgence to consider another amendment that I propose. In the 2022 Act, the matter of electronic transmission results was not definite. I think that we are the lawmakers. We are the ones that make the law for the country. I think we should not make a law that will be vague, that will be interpreted differently by different courts of law.
In the meantime, the delay in the issuance of national identity cards has caught the attention of lawmakers, prompting an investigation.
What is that the Commission headquarters and its state counterpart have been found to be ineffective in delivering the national assignment to the people, particularly in releasing the national identity card due to the government neglect of operational activities and directive for the benefit of all Nigerians.
Similarly, an investigation is to be carried out by the House Committee on National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, following the ban by the agency on the production of alcoholic beverages in sachets and small bottles in the country. The Green Chamber is worried that the ban could lead to job losses in the country. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, following the conclusion of the rerun and by-elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has presented certificates of return to senators and House of Representatives members who emerged victorious in the poll. The certificates were presented by the national commissioners representing the states or the regions where each senator or House member is representing. INEC had conducted the elections in 80 local government areas across 26 states last Saturday to fill vacancies in 3 senatorial districts, 17 federal and 28 state constituencies, occasioned by resignation, death, or order of the court. And in Edo State, the governorship aspirant of the platform of the APC in the state in the 2024 governorship election, Mr. Ernest Umakihe, says that he is free of corruption, the reason he is bold to join the race for the governorship seat come September 2024. He stated this in his conversation with journalists after submitting his nomination and expression of interest forms at the APC National Secretariat in Abuja. A crowd of supporters joins former Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Mr. Ernest Umakihe, as he makes his way into the premises of the APC National Secretariat at Abuja. Mr. Umakihe's mission at the Secretariat is unveiled in the office of the party's Deputy National Organizing Secretary, Chidi Duru, where he enters his particulars in the return of nomination and expression of interest forms list. The next stage is the submission of the documents to the party. Having fulfilled this requirement, Mr. Umakihe then entertains a session with journalists where he shares information about his past experiences serving Edo State and the nation.
So having retired from the Federal Civil Service, I think now is the time for me to have a better opportunity that will concentrate solely on Edo State. And my slogan has always been, if I could do this without making any electoral promise, Now I have started making electoral promises, which I must fulfill. If I didn't promise and I fulfilled, now I'm promising, I think I will discharge more creditably.
The APC governorship aspirant is also bold to address the question of corruption.
If, as a candidate and as a retired counsel, if I was corrupt myself, I will leave this public space for now. You wouldn't be seeing me at this time. So I have come out clean, and I know what it takes to ensure that you have a civil service that is corruption-free, and I will implement those strategies to ensure that the state is also without blemish.
Mr. Mahihe from this venue proceeds to continue highlighting his Fresh Hope agenda to garner support from party members for the APC primary election on the 17th of February ahead of the September 21 Edo governorship election.
In part two, after the break, Nigeria and the United Kingdom signed a memorandum of understanding to tackle common security challenges affecting both countries. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria zooms to final, beats South Africa 4-2 on penalty in the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations taking place in Côte d'Ivoire. Senate puts aside its interaction with service chiefs following absence of National Security Advisor, Defense, Finance and Interior Ministers, reschedules briefing to February the 13th. House of Representatives set to harmonize general elections to prevent staggered elections bandwagon. Bills kills second reading. And there have been 2 fatal bomb blasts in Pakistan causing chaos on the eve of the country's general election. Let's go over to Nasarawa State now, where the military personnel and 2 vigilante officials have been killed in Toto local government area of the state. The State Commissioner for Special Duties Security, Timothy Kasua, confirmed this incident to Channels Television. It says the 5 persons were killed in an ambush by suspected militiamen while returning from a clearance attack. He also added that military has reinforced its personnel to that area. For some time now, there's been ethnic skirmishes between the Bassas and the Egbiras in the area, which has caused unrest. Meanwhile, Boko Haram terrorists have reportedly killed a police inspector, set his body ablaze along the makeshift camp accommodation, carting away arms and ammunition in the Kakureta Kaga Council on Maiduguri Damaturu Road. The incident, which occurred earlier today, also left 2 civilians dead as a terrorist shot them, set ablaze the vehicle of the district head, and carted away 1 Hilux vehicle belonging to the civilian JTF operating in that community. According to a security source, the vehicle of the Commander Sector 2 Northeast Joint Task Force operation had in Kai, while an assessment visit to the scene, stepped on an improvised explosive device which exploded, damaging the commander's vehicle and injuring the driver, but the commander and his radio operator were unhurt. And this attack is coming 5 days after a similar attack left 4 police personnel dead in Gajiram, the headquarters of Ngazai local government area. The Maiduguri Damaturu Road remains the only road leading outside Borno State. In the past 5 years, it has been the beehive of Boko Haram activities, but the situation subsided in the last 4 years until recently when the attacks resumed on that road despite the heavy presence of the army and other security agencies, including the civilian JTF members stationed to secure the highway. And staying with security matters, the federal government and the government of the United Kingdom have signed a memorandum of understanding as part of efforts aimed at addressing the common security challenges affecting both countries. Speaking at the 2nd edition of the UK-Nigeria Security and Defence Partnership Dialogue in Abuja, The National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, says that both countries must adopt a holistic approach to tackle their common enemies.
From across different agencies, security experts are meeting in the office of the National Security Advisor for the second edition of the UK-Nigerian Security and Defense Partnership Dialogue. The dialogue begins with a message from the National Security Advisor, who advocates the need for a holistic and integrated approach to tackling security challenges confronting both countries.
The long-standing ties between the United Kingdom and Nigeria are grounded in our shared values, mutual respect, and a common aspiration for a safer and more prosperous world. The UK-Nigerian Security and Defense Partnership Dialogue serves as a pivotal platform for frank and constructive discussions on a wide array of contemporary security challenges confronting our nations and the international community at large.
Contributing to the dialogue, the Deputy National Security Advisor of the United Kingdom highlights the need for effective collaboration as she pledges the commitment of the United Kingdom to partner with Nigeria to tackle security challenges.
The UK is fully committed to our friendship and partnership with Nigeria, and we thank you for your commitment to that partnership too. And I am personally delighted to be part of strengthening and deepening it through this SDP. Both our neighbourhoods are experiencing tough security challenges. I don't presume to tell you about yours. Indeed, I intend to ask you about it for your advice and your wisdom on it. In ours, we have, as you know well and have spoken powerfully on, a really difficult conflict in Ukraine. We experience attempts to undermine some of our newly democratic neighbours, attempts to weaponise migration, to inspire terror and radicalisation, to interfere in democratic process and to manipulate peoples and thinking with disinformation and social media abuse.
The dialogue climaxes with the signing of a memorandum of understanding on cybersecurity. The dialogue continues behind closed doors as the conversation is expected to focus on the need for synergy by both countries to stem the tide of global insecurity.
In other stories, 3 persons of interest have been identified in connection with the explosion that happened around the Bodija area of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, on January the 16th, 2024, which claimed at least 5 lives. This was made known by the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, who received the official report of that blast, comprising findings of the medical, security, and engineering teams. Addressing a press conference at the briefing, the governor says the Special Advisor on Security, Mr. Fatai Owosheni, said he identified persons will face prosecution based on the investigation carried out. We have more for you on the news at 10. Let's head over to Abuja Studios, where Gloria Mezoke is standing by to give us more. Hello, Gloria.
Many thanks, Anne. We begin with the Federal High Court in Lagos, which has ordered the federal government to fix the prices of goods and petroleum products within 7 days from today, February the 7th. Justice Ambrose Lewis Alagwa granted the orders equal to an originating motion filed and argued by the applicant, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana. The Senior Advocate of Nigeria had dragged the Price Control Board and the Attorney General of the Federation to determine whether, by virtue of Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Price Control Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, the first defendant is carrying out its duty to impose a price on goods that are of the kind specified in the first schedule of the Price Control Act. In an affidavit in support of the summons, the deponent noted that the commodities are listed in the Price Control Act. After listening to the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Justice Lewis Alagwa granted the prayers sought and ordered the government to fix the prices of goods and petroleum products. To infrastructure development in the Federal Capital Territory, where the Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has declared that the era of abandoning government projects has come to an end. He is warning that under the administration of President Bola Tinubu, the trend will not be tolerated. Mr. Wike stated this as the flag-off of the construction of Yangoji Sukuku Ebu 11 kilometers road in Kwali Area Council in the federal capital.
The opening up of rural roads across the area councils in the Federal Capital Territory makes a stop in Kwali Area Council. It's the turn of the 11 kilometers Yangoji Sukukweba Road in the area. The leadership of the council area appeals to the minister to see the completion of the project as well as other infrastructure in the area.
The Pei Dafa Road, Tunga, Ija Bolu, Dhaka Road. These projects were abandoned. These projects were initiated by the immediate past leadership of the FCT administration.
We also want you to look at the issue of our primary healthcare centers too. Probably after the schools, let's look at the primary healthcare centers, because where we have congestion in the tertiary institutions of health and the secondary institutions of health is because our primary healthcare centers are really very poor.
The community appreciates the efforts of the minister and he's conferred with a traditional title.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Wike affirms his commitment to fight banditry in the nation's capital.
This criminal, you don't know me. I would have used that sword and I would have done a lot of this. But I just said, let me give you the last notice before I use the sword to cut you down. You must understand the implication of that sword is go and bring them down. That's not what they said. Leaders go and bring them down, and I will not let you down.
He also promises to ensure the completion of projects in Abuja.
The period of abandonment of project is over. No project will be abandoned under this administration of Asuwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
The minister then officially flags off the rehabilitation projects. He's hoping that the contractor for the project will engage more young people in the area to reduce the impact of the high cost of living in the country.
We're still ahead of the news at 10. Central Bank of Nigeria sells record 1 trillion naira in Wednesday's Treasury bill auction as 364-day T-bills stock rate spike to 19% per annum. Join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. 2 days after many residents of Minna, the Niger State capital, tripped out to protest high cost of living in the country, some residents of neighboring Suleja, also in the state, have staged a protest over the same matter. Today's protest in Suleja, which is only a few kilometers away from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is coming after the police in the State Police Command said they had arrested 25 persons who led the protest in Minna on Monday. The protesters were said to have staged the action at the popular Morocco Road, where the biggest market is located in the town. They were seen carrying placards with various inscriptions, such as "Nigerians are suffering, stop the hardship now." A similar protest also held in Lokoja as traders took to the streets over the incessant high cost of essential commodities across the state. The protest, which was organized by market women and men, saw marketers in their hundreds protesting over the high cost of food items. A trader who identified herself as Mrs. Ladi said most of the traders in Lokoja have closed their shops, adding that buyers no longer patronize them owing to high prices. The president yesterday directed that a food intervention measure should be provided to check the shortage of food in the country. Meanwhile, in Abuja, dozens of protesters today staged a protest asking the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to reverse the ban on the sale of alcohol in sachets and mini bottles. The protesters, who were prevented by the police from carrying out their protest at the National Assembly and the Unity Fountain, stood outside the venue with placards describing the ban as anti-poor people. NAFDAC had on Monday announced a renewed clampdown on manufacturers and traders who sell alcohol in sachets and mini bottles following the expiration of a 5-year window for manufacturers to phase out the products.
The ban is an affront on the rights of a poor man. If you ban alcohol in sachets, that means the poor man cannot take it, but only the bourgeoisie will take it. It will lead to a loss of many jobs, millions of jobs. So we're here to protest against that ban, and we're calling on the president to call the DG of NAFDAC to order so that she will reverse the ban.
So that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Anne, for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Gloria. To company news now, Wema Bank PLC, Africa's foremost fully digital bank, has reached an agreement with the National Youth Service Corps to promote youth empowerment in the form of grants and the establishment of digital hubs for the training of corps members. The new partnership will have the bank support youth corps members with skills and entrepreneurship development initiatives worth 150 million naira yearly for 2 years as grants. Speaking during the signing of a memorandum of understanding to kickstart this initiative, the Executive Director, Retail and Digital Banking at the bank, Mr. Tunde Mbawonko, explains that the target is to help young Nigerians develop skills for job creation.
This meeting between officials of Wema Bank PLC and that of the National Youth Service Corps is one which seeks to open up a new vista of opportunities for the nation's youths. Unemployment rate in the country is on the rise, and this is just as tertiary institutions continue to churn out graduates, with many seeking for white-collar jobs. How to arm the nation's graduates with skills that will lead to job creation is what Wema Bank plans to achieve.
They say give a man food, he will eat, but teach a man how to fish, he will forever be grateful. So we've done over the last few years trying to look for opportunities to empower. And we are glad that we have these opportunities to work with the youth and the next generation. They say the youth control almost 60 to 75% of the nation's population. And this for us is an opportunity to empower and impact the lives of these youth.
The news is well received by officials of the National Youth Service Corps. They are promising maximum support to ensure the success of the program.
This MOU about to be signed commits us to work together more closely towards a common goal, which is the pursuit of core empowerment for job creation, wealth creation, economic growth and self-reliance of Nigerian graduate youths.
The digital skill acquired will enable corps members navigate, understand, and leverage technology effectively.
The MOU is then signed. Outside the hall, the executive director
Sincerely apologize for that glitch. To other stories now, the Bank of Industry has opened its office in Uyo, the Akwa State capital, as part of the move to deepen its operations. The new business office is located on the 3rd floor of the 21-story building at Dakada Towers in Udo Doma banking layout in Uyo. Speaking before performing the official opening of the bank, Governor Mo Eno described the event as an affirmation of his resolve to fulfill his promise to support small and medium-scale enterprises as an engine growth for growth and development.
Privilege that has been extended to me by the...
This is the official opening of the new business office of the Bank of Industry in Uyo.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
It is situated on the 3rd floor of the 21-story Dakada Towers. The event attracts the management team of BOI industry operators of small and medium-scale businesses and members of the Akwa State Executive Council. The state governor is excited about the development, describing it as a bold move towards realizing the lofty goals of his resolve to supporting small and medium-scale enterprises in the state. He announces the state government's investment of the sum of 2 billion naira in the bank.
The young people of our state are very creative people. All they need is a little push. Just receive AFCON's approval that we can release our matching funds, investable funds, to support what you are giving. Akwa Ibom State government will open an account with 2 billion naira.
For the management of BOI, the Akwa Ibom State government's commitment to promoting entrepreneurship is commendable. The MD expresses appreciation for the provision of a befitting office location that is safe and secure for business.
On behalf of the management and staff of the Bank of Industry, I extend my heartfelt appreciation to His Excellency, Governor, Pastor Umo Eno, all stakeholders and the entire Akwa Ibom State government for their unwavering support and commitment to economic development. We are optimistic that the commissioning of this new office will bring about many more collaborations towards a shared vision for economic empowerment and industrial development for the state.
Some stakeholders share their views on the development.
This relationship will impact capacity building of our people to be able to take money, put it to use, and then make the investment that the state has made in this funding scheme worth its while.
But from the smile on my face, you can tell that I'm quite relieved. This is an excellent opportunity for Ibomle to achieve some of the things that we are supposed to achieve as an agenda, as part of the Arise agenda.
The Bank of Industry says it is aligned with the Akwa Ibom State government's economic blueprint, which is aimed at transforming the socio-economic landscape through job creation and developmental impact.
For more on the economy, we have Laddie Williams, who's standing by to give us the latest in the world of business.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Anne. In business news, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited announced the commencement of oil production from the Akpo West field, recording 14,000 barrels per day. The NNPCL made the announcement on its X handle, also stating this will add 14,000 barrels per day of condensate to the nation's production, followed by a production of about 4 million cubic meters of gas per day by 2028. Akpo West is located 135 kilometers offshore, stands as a remarkable discovery on PML-2, complementing the Akpo Main, which commenced operations in 2009 and boasted a production of 124,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day in 2023. And Fitch Ratings now assigned a long-term foreign currency issuer default rating of B- to Benue State, along with a stable outlook. This rating reflects Fitch's assessment of the state's creditworthiness and highlights its ability to meet its financial obligations. This rating indicates an acceptable level of creditworthiness, which can be vital in attracting investment, encouraging economic development, and build sustainable partnerships. In reaction, the state government believes that the Fitch rating will facilitate access to global capital markets, allowing the state to secure funding for infrastructure projects, social welfare initiatives, and developmental programs. And the Central Bank of Nigeria today sold a record 1 trillion naira in Treasury bill auction, with the 364-day Treasury bill stop rate spiking to 19% per annum. To details of the offer now, for the 91-day tenor, investors staked 39.9 billion for the 91-day compared to 200 billion naira offered by the Apex Bank. The range of interest rates bid was between 7% and 7.2%. To the one-year bill, we saw a remarkable jump there, threefold oversubscription, about 1.8 trillion compared to the 600 billion that was on offer. Chukwu Awachukwu, head asset and balance sheet management at UBA, gave reasons for this jump in yields and expectations going forward. All right, so we'll get that another time now. So data from the Nigerian interbank settlement system shows cashless transactions in Nigeria increased to 611 trillion in 2023 from 395.38 trillion as of the end of 2022, indicating a 54.55% year-on-year growth. Analysis of the data showed electronic payment channels were used 11 billion times in 2023, as a 75.96% increase from the 6.28 billion times used in 2022, while the total value of instant payments in 2023 was 600.36 trillion naira. Point of sales transactions, that was 10.7 trillion, relied for about 1.38 billion times. The NIBS instant payments, an account number-based online real-time interbank payment solution developed in the year 2011 by NIBS, is the Nigeria's financial industry's preferred funds transfer platform that guarantees instant value to the beneficiary. And now let's take a look at how your money performed today. Well, it was a flattish close, but to the negative side. Wema Bank has the details.
Thank you, Ladi, and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It was a slow day at the NGX today. Not a lot of movement. We have a flat. And as I said earlier, not a lot of action there, not a lot of money flowing, and we may be about to lose the 102,000 level. But if we look at the sectors, we see consumer goods in the green, and this is because of gains in Boa Foods. The stock price appreciated by 10 naira 90 kobo to close at 295 naira 90 kobo. And as always, we have those stocks that eked out some gains. Investors had to find some place to put their money. And surprisingly, well, maybe not surprisingly, Cadbury flipped to the loser side today. Investors couldn't wait to take profits after the cow had been fattened. And that's the Stock Market Report for today. I am Will Ibong.
There you have it. It was flat, but negative. Well, time for a check on global markets we track. And that's business news. Congrats to Nigeria again for making it to the finals. Back to you, Anne.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Indeed, Ladi. Congratulations to us. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected the latest offer from Hamas for a ceasefire to ensure the return of hostages held captive in Gaza. The Prime Minister told a press conference that total victory is within reach. He renewed a pledge to destroy Palestinian Islamist movement, saying that there was no alternative for Israel but bringing about the collapse of Hamas. Here is Yamin Pize with more on the international news in and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. There have been 2 fatal bomb blasts in Pakistan, causing chaos on the eve of the country's general election. Video from the Qilla Saif Ullah district in Pakistan shows chaos and panic after a fatal blast on the eve of the general election. Elsewhere, a separate blast killed at least 12 people outside an independent candidate's party office in the Pishin district. Residents and officials raced to help people caught in the 2 explosions, where at least 20 people have died and many others injured. These elections have been marred by violence and claims of poll rigging. Police are trying to determine the cause of the blast, and the injured have been transported to nearby hospitals. Swedish prosecutors have said they will end their investigation into the sabotage of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 gas pipelines in 2022. After a near 18-month inquiry, the investigators concluded they did not have a jurisdiction in the case because Sweden's citizens and interests had not been harmed. The multi-billion-dollar Nord Stream pipelines transporting Russian gas to Germany under the Baltic Sea were ruptured by a series of blasts in Swedish and Danish waters in September 2022, releasing vast amounts of methane into the air. Nikki Haley has suffered a humiliating defeat in the Republican primary in Nevada, despite facing no competition in the absence of Donald Trump. The Associated Press projected she received fewer votes than none of these candidates by a large margin. The state governor had advocated voting in this way as a protest because Ms. Haley will skip Thursday's caucuses. Mr. Trump runs unopposed in that vote as he closes in on a presidential nomination. With 86% of precincts reported, none had 63% of Tuesday's primary votes, while Ms. Haley had just 31%.
Well, I actually voted for none of the above here because the primary here didn't include all of the people, and I'll be going in Thursday for the caucus to vote for Trump.
The Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition both started Prime Minister's questions by wishing King Charles a speedy recovery after it was announced he was being treated for an unspecified cancer.
Mr. Speaker, I know the thoughts of the House and the country are with the King and his family. We wish His Majesty a speedy recovery and look forward to him resuming his public-facing duties in due course.
Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join with the Prime Minister in sending His Majesty the King our very best wishes for his treatment. Across this House, we all look forward to seeing him back to full health as quickly as possible.
The King will continue his weekly meetings with Rishi Sunak. Meanwhile, Prince William is resuming his royal duties after taking time off with his wife Kate after she recovers from surgery. The Duke of Wales is attending an investiture at Windsor Castle before a charity dinner for the London Air Ambulance. While King Charles steps back from public duties, William, along with other senior royals, will take on some of his engagements. Snowstorms and freezing rain have disrupted transportation in large parts of China as millions of people travel for the Lunar New Year holiday. Hundreds of flights and train services have been cancelled, while motorists have been stranded on frozen highways for days. The holiday sets off the largest annual human migration as millions in China travel to their hometowns. Authorities expect 480 million trips to be made for the Lunar New Year, also known as the Spring Festival. The volume is 40% higher compared to the previous year. And officials say a pod of around a dozen killer whales trapped by drift ice in waters off Japan's northern island appear to have successfully escaped. The stranded orcas were spotted by a fisherman earlier this week, almost 1 kilometre off Hokkaido. Drone footage showed the animals packed closely together and sticking their heads out of the water to breathe. That sparked an official response, with officials travelling to the seaside town to monitor the whales. The footage was also shown on Japanese TV, prompting a wave of concern for the animals from the public this week and calls by environmental groups for government assistance for their release. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. In the world of sports, there's all excitement at the Johnson Arena in Oniko, Lagos, as Lagosians turned out in large numbers. Lagos is a goal viewing center. At the final whistle, the fans celebrated the much-deserved win. And congratulatory messages are pouring in for the Super Eagles. The latest is from Nigeria's Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Owaneno, who writes on X, "My dear Super Eagles, we doff our hearts to you, bravo heroes of our time." The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has also hailed the Super Eagles for their resounding victory, describing their performance as the stuff of legends. The Lagos State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Benga Motosho, is not left out. He has also congratulated the Eagles.
Well, very exciting. I greet all Nigerians. Congratulations to Mr. President. Congratulations to Mr. Sanwo-Olu. We made this happen here in Lagos. You can see that the crowd here in Lagos is bigger than the crowd we have in Cote d'Ivoire. So everything that has happened here today is an attestation to the spirit of Nigeria. When you see that we have faith, we all rise and then we make it to the top. And that is what has happened today. The spirit of Lagos at play, the spirit of Nigeria at play.
Congratulations are in order absolutely for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But now, in a rather sad development, former Super Eagles Falcons coach Godwin Ezealiam, an ex-international and one of Nigeria's most accomplished football coaches, has died at the age of 81. It stands that Ezealiam, who led the Falcons to win the 2004 Women's Africa Cup of Nations in South Africa, died after battling abdominal issues. In tennis, world number 49, Andy Murray is considering dropping to the Challenger Tour after his 5th consecutive defeat on Tuesday. Now, Murray was beaten in straight sets by the Czech Republic's Thomas Machak at the Open 13 province in Marseille, which was his 4th loss in 4 matches this year. He started the year with a 3-set defeat to Grigor Dimitrov, then lost at the Australian Open to Thomas Martin Echeverry. And we have breaking news as we can confirm to our viewers now that the Super Eagles of Nigeria will face Cote d'Ivoire in the finals of the Cup of Nations in Abuja. That's the breaking news tonight. And that's sports. I am Kelly Egiga. It's back to Anne for the rest of the news.
Thank you, Kelly, and well done to the Super Eagles. And the main news again. Nigeria today qualified for the final of the ongoing 2023 Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire. The Super Eagles defeated Bafana Bafana of South Africa 4-2 on penalties after 120 minutes of football. The Senate has postponed its interaction with service chiefs following the absence of National Security Advisor, Defense, Finance and Interior Ministers. Senate has now rescheduled the briefing to February the 13th. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, well done to the Super Eagles and congratulations to Nigerians. I am Anne Mwawadu. Good night.